alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Oh, pretty baby.
Can you feel me? If you're looking for devotion, you got to show me love. You got to show me.
Just wanna
feel this moment.
Miss Worldwide, Christina Aguilera, Mike Gangster, up! Oye, mamita, dale, que la cosa está arriba. Reporting live from the tallest building in Tokyo. Long way from them hallways. Filled with O's and O's. They counting always. 305 all day. Now, baby, we can parlay. Oh, baby, we can party. She read books, especially about red rooms and tie-ups. I got her hooked. Cause she see me in a suit with the red tie tied up. Rita Gris, nice to meet you. But time is money. Only difference is I own it. Now let's stop time and enjoy this moment.
One day while my light is glowing, I'll be in my castle golden. But until the gates are open, I just wanna feel this moment.
Come on, baby, and drop it. Scrub the floor and just mop it. Show these gangsters how you pop lock it. Don't care what you got in your pocket. I peep the way that you rockin' with that thing. Girl, stop it. Wanna just bang, bang, and pop it. While the club crowd are just watching. Work it out. Got a gang of cash and it's going all on the ball. Now work it out. And it's going fast cause I feel like a superstar. Now work it out. And you may not have it, I might have just broke the law. Now work it out. It's your turn to grab it and I make this whole thing yours. Now work it out.
Said our hustler's work is never through. We making it cause we making moves. The only thing we know how to do. Said it's the only thing we know how to do. Work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard. We work hard, play hard, keep partying like it's your job. Work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard. We work hard, play hard, keep partying like it's your job. Ew.
Oriflame! Yes, number one. Thank you and welcome to today's show, today's meeting, today's event. Today we have yet another opportunity for me, for us, to really talk and discuss about Oriflame. And of course, after the TSP reboot a couple of weeks ago, I felt we had a great start of rebooting our Oriflame way, our Oriflame culture. And we're going to continue doing that today. We're going to speak more about the culture, but we're going to speak about it from a little bit of a different perspective, more from a leadership perspective. And therefore we have today many guests. We're going to speak about Oriflame from many different angles and how things are working in different parts of Oriflame. And of course, we are going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to do new things, and we're going to do many things that we have never done before. But we will do it always together with spirit and passion. And the best thing of all is that, of course, you are all here. You're all there, and you're all over here. And I also have Jelena with me.
Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you? So great to see everyone. Oh my God, we have like gigantic screens here today in this studio so that we can actually see you in a bigger screens, you know, as the last time. So, welcome to the Oriflame Way Leaders Edition. When we saw each other at TSP Reboot last time, we asked you to fill in the survey. And thank you so much for the feedback. And thank you so much for liking the TSP Reboot. But there was one feedback that we actually took seriously. And this feedback was that it is cool to chat in the Zoom. It is cool to see each other pictures. But wouldn't it be really cool to be able to talk to each other in real life? So in Oriflame, dreams come true, as you know. We fulfill dreams. So today, we are testing a new thing. Today, during this Oriflame Way Leaders Edition, you are going to be able not only seeing each other, but also talking with each other. We are going to actually launch the Zoom group rooms for you. And there, you are going to be approximately 15 people. And we are going to have quite short time for the discussion of different questions we are going to pose to you during this session. But the main thing is that consider it as a speed dating, mega speed dating of Oriflame. Because today, through participation, you will be able to meet and personally speak to a lot of people around the world. And please don't get shy. You know, your cameras are on. And please, please, please participate. So we have to test how it works. Are you ready? The main thing is that you don't need to do anything. If you have emojis, your hands on emojis. Don't press any buttons. If you have your phones with emojis, your hands on the phones. Don't press any buttons. So now we are going to launch the Zoom rooms. You are going to get together with 15 people. And we want to give you 4 minutes in order to introduce yourself, tell your name, where you're from, and get the Oriflame energy going. And the person with the shortest hair starts the conversation. Are you ready? Can we have the Zoom rooms, please? Thank you. See you soon.
This is the spirit of all.
so it didn't work. Right, we are back. Well, you know, this is the age of technology. I don't know how it was for you guys, but we had fun in my room. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't start my video, but I heard a lot of voices. And even somebody wrote in our chat that shouldn't we record it as the voices of Oriflame? Yes, we probably should. So we are now checking what is wrong. I hope that for some of you, you could see each other, but we won't give up. So this was a test. I hope that it will work better next time, but it was fun to hear you all. So now I can see you in the studio on the screens, and we can see that people are back. But I can see that after this Zoom room experience, you're a bit down, people. Or it's just a bit too little energy here in the screens. And what do we do in Oriflame when we have too little energy? What do we do in Oriflame when we have too little energy? Mike, get up. We get up! Come on, get up from the chairs. I see you. Get up. Come on, I see you. Pontus, I see you. Fredrik, I see you. Johan Rosenberg, I see you. Company, I see you. Lydia, come on, get up. I mean, jump. Come on, come on, come on. Get the energy flow. Lazy people. Mike, stop, 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 stop. Come on, I see you on big screen. I even see your names here, and I see that you didn't get up. Now really, Yuri Michaluk is just like looking right at me, and he's sitting, he's still sitting. Come on, now we all get up. Come on, get up, Oriflame! Togetherness! Energy, and we get this energy flow. Mike, get the music going! Get up! Energy! Come on! That's it. Okay, we're ready. Thank you. Let's start.
In 1992, I finished the university. And I was, like everybody else finishing the university, looking for a job because you had to start paying off your loans for your studies. I found a job and I was very, very proud. I became one of those interns in the beginning of one of the largest, most successful FMCG companies in the world. And it meant the world to me because I was really feeling that I was making it into one of those companies. But the first day at work, when I got there, I was shown to my place, and since I was the lowest person in the company, I had a room with no window, no carpet, because I got to know that if I moved up the company, I would get a room with a carpet and a room with possibly a window after a few years. After a while, they also told me that this is a big file. It was those days before the computers. So it was a big file with names and addresses and telephone numbers. And I was given a project, and they told me, if you have any questions, all of these people are there to answer them. They know everything that you need to know to do your job. And then after a while, as I was working, I was interacting, and I was learning, and I was instructed. I got to know exactly how the mails were supposed to be done, where the dates were supposed to be, who to address, and how to write them to give it to my boss. And after a while, I understood that the boss's real task was to find faults in my paper. And if he or she couldn't find it, it would be elevated to the next boss, who would also try to see what was wrong with the thing that I had written. And if they didn't fail to do so, then it would be elevated to the next one. And after a while, I started feeling that I was not really that important. I was not me. I was not Magnus. I was just an employee number, one part of a big, very, very successful and very complex puzzle. But I didn't feel special. I didn't feel that this was me. I didn't feel that this was my, so to speak, company. A few years later, I joined another company. And in that company, I was given some tasks. And after a while, I heard about this big project in eastern Russia after the crisis in the winter floods of the Lena River. The Red Cross was trying to help people out there. And I felt this was something that my company could actually help doing. So I actually called the owner of the company, who I have hardly met him. And I asked him, this is happening here, and I think it's a good thing for branding. And I think we should do something. And in a split second, the answer is, it sounds like a great idea. I'll send you $200,000 to make it right. Just go for it. Just do it. And I felt that this was incredible. I, one of the lowest persons in the company, calling the owner, just the fact that I did so, and the fact that in a split second he took a decision that this was a good idea, even though he didn't know me very well. I hadn't presented any Excel files or any sheets of what to do or what not to do. He has trusted me on this important task, and he gave me the go-ahead. At that moment, I knew this was the company for me. And the person approving it was Robert of Joknik. And the company where I was working was Oriflame. And I decided that this is most likely the company where I want to spend the rest of my life. Because I want to work where I mean something, where I am not just an employee number, where my point of view matters, and where there's trust between people. And that's why today's session is so important. That's why the TSB reboot is so important. So we really remind ourselves who we are, who we want to be, and what is demanded by us to be who we want to be. And therefore, we have today translate togetherness, spirit, and passion into the focus and perspectives of management, of being a leader in Oriflame. Because the reason that there were differences between these two companies that I described was because of culture, but also because it was the way the companies were managed. And it has nothing to do really with success. It has to do with attitude, with a way of working. And therefore, today we're going to speak about those ways of working from three different perspectives. Because I think there are three primarily fundamentals in the leadership abilities of Oriflame, the qualities, the capabilities. And those are being the center of positive energy, surrounding yourself with the best people who complements you, and having guts. What do I mean by this? Well, being the center of positive is something we speak about a lot. And we take it to a certain extent for granted. But it's important we remind ourselves every day that this is about giving people hope. Because to a large extent, when we're interacting with each other, we can see things in two different ways. Either we can see it as an opportunity or as a challenge. And it is in the way we see it that we most likely will be able to overcome it. And that is so important when we talk about management, when we talk about leadership, because the leaders are there to give people hope. The light in the end of the tunnel, being the lighthouse for people so people know where to go. And that's why being the center of positive energy is so important, especially in a business like Oriflame, because our business is maybe not so logical, but it is truly very emotional. Being the center of positive starts always with myself. Trying to see the opportunities that I can provide, because it starts with me as an individual, but also as a manager. And also, of course, starting to see that it is bigger than just myself, being part of the bigger Oriflame. And that's why it's important for us as managers to see that when we are talking about Oriflame, it is important that we see that we are one team, one Oriflame. That the real enemy that we have is not inside the company, but it's actually outside the company. And in the center of all our attention is how can we make lives better for our customers and for our brand partners. And this is a way of being in an attitude. How do we address questions? How do we address failures? Because when you are trying to lead, you will make failures. And your people will make failures. Because when you're leading, you're trying new things, you're trying to do things that no one has ever done before. And it is those moments when things count. Our attitude towards our colleagues and to our own people. Do we encourage them? Do we ask them, oh, how can we get out? Or why do we get into the problems we were in? With having the focus on how do we get out of this? How do we solve this? How do we overcome this? We create an attitude of can-do spirit, where we can actually find opportunities, where we can find solutions, where people are not afraid of actually trying new things. And this is an essential, important part of management at Oriflame, giving people a chance to fail in order to succeed. But it all starts with being the center of positive energy and providing trust to the people. In the way Robert of Jokkney trusted me, I need to trust you. And you need to trust your people and your colleagues. One Oriflame, one team. And it's maybe more important in Oriflame than ever. We're spread all over the world. We can't be everywhere. So we have to focus on the things that we're doing now and trusting our colleagues to do what they are doing and not second guessing each other. And here management is incredibly important. Surrounding yourself with people that complements you. What does that really mean? Well, let's start and face the fact that we can't do everything by ourselves. We're not alone. And as a human being, as a colleague, as a manager, I will not be able to know everything. Actually, it is completely unrealistic that I will know what to do. And the leader's task is not to know everything. The leader's task is to give guidance, the directions, and of course the hope that this can be solved and giving the vision of where we're going. But when we're coming to solving tasks, when we are supposed to do things, then we have to find people who surround me, who complements me. What do I mean? Well, it means that I have to start by knowing myself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And a simple way of doing this is actually just asking oneself, what do I like to do? Because when you look at your task that you have in front of you, very often you can start dividing in that task. I try to do it in 10 different areas, where the 10 major things that will solve the task I have in front of me. That is the same if I'm at the lowest level or if I'm at the highest level. And then I look at those 10 and I see that these are the things which will matter, which are the most important. Then I will try to look at which ones are the ones where I, as a human being, personally, which are the ones where I am most likely going to add most value. And they are very often the same things that I like to do, because they very often hangs together. When I've identified those things that I am the best at doing and which I like to do, you will find that those are maybe 4 or 5 or 6, but I will put 4 aside for myself, and I will take 6. And I will be delegating them to the best people surrounding me, who complements me. Those 6 tasks I will give to the people who actually loves to do those 6, who have different expertise than myself, who are in many ways very much better than me in solving these things. But for them, this is the main task and the things they like to do. That is by surrounding yourself with people who complements it. Those people who will actually be doing the things that where I'm maybe not the strongest. Therefore, I have to trust them. I have to really put my success in the hands of other people. And I have to trust that they will do the best they can to actually solve the question. Which in the end leads to the fact that we together are interdependent as an individual, as a team, as a function, as a country, as a region, as a whole Oriflame. We need to surround ourselves with people who complement each other, and we need to trust and respect each other's expertise. And together, that will be more fun, and together, that will also be more efficient and effective, and we will be more successful. Leadership is very often about taking decisions. And decisions are hard. And I feel very often, and I'm sure you do as well, that when we are going to take decisions, we are lacking some sort of knowledge. I very often remember doing sales forecasts in Russia when I started Oriflame. We always said to each other, oh, if we only had another week, if we only had another month, if we only had another, this knowledge, we're missing some information, missing some numbers or whatever, we would take such a much better decision. And that is probably true. Actually, it is even easier to take the decision after it has happened. But that's not the privilege of the leader. The leader does not have the privilege of taking decisions afterwards. The leader needs to take decisions before it has actually happened. Before you have all the numbers, before you have all the figures, all the knowledge that you wish you had. And that's why you have to believe in something. You have to trust the people around you, but in the end of the day, you have to take a decision on what you believe in. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your own gut. What do you believe in? Because once you have trusted yourself, you can take a decision that you can live with. It may be a success. It may be a failure, but at least you know why you took it. Don't fall in love with your decisions. Fall in love with the results that you're expecting. So always have the impatience of reviewing, was my decision the right one? And don't try to defend it when you know it wasn't the right one. Change it. Because in the end of the day, we are here to take decisions. There will never be the perfect one. And therefore we have to always be ready, on our toes, to be agile and to be able to change. And therefore in Oriflame, the Oriflame culture, which is based on togetherness, spirit and passion, demands trust between each other and an open atmosphere where we're exchanging information and where we're motivating each other and where we're acknowledging the fact that we have only one vision, and that is to become the #1 social selling beauty company in the world. It may take a long time. It may go fast, but it demands that we every day try to be a little bit better than we were yesterday. And we can really be that by challenging each other, by helping each other, by motivating each other together with spirit and passion. And don't ever forget, it is about being the center of positive energy. Surround yourself with the best people that complements you. And in the end of the day, have guts. Go for it. Believe it. It can happen.
Thank you so much, Magnus, for this great speech. Thank you. We actually have a chat going. I was a bit worried in the beginning that it was a bit silent, but then I realized that you were all actually listening to Magnus. So thank you very much for paying attention. And Magnus, we actually had a nice comment from Marie-Louise, and you can see it on the screen, that the boss has the title, but the leader has the people. You see, thank you, Magnus, and this felt like the culture in progress. And by the way, Magnus, then, but I mean, it's fantastic to speak about it, but do we really have it in real life? So how to know how to use all these qualities of the leader in real life?
Well, I think that we have to acknowledge the fact that it's not always easy, and we will also fail in our interactions with each other. And therefore, it's so important that we have these sessions where we actually discuss what does it mean, not only in theory, but also in practice. And I guess that's also why we have invited some people to talk about this from different perspectives.
Good. So shall we then get the guests going?
I think that would be perfect, because today we are here to talk about how does this happen in practice. And therefore, it is such an honor for us to be able to invite several guests to the event today. But first, we will start with Henrik Renos, Karolina Georgieva, and Fredrik Widell. Let's put our hands together and welcoming them to talk to us about leadership in Oriflame.
Hello, hello. Can you see us? Can you hear us? I really feel like we're sitting like in the morning news studio.
I love this. I think this is so fun. It is exciting, and I think it's just one more of those events where we're able to connect. And the more we do this, I think we're also seeing that we are able to interact in a completely new way than we have in the past, and you will definitely meet more new people today.
Absolutely. I just wanted to joke that usually, people sit in such morning studios with serious faces and they discuss this horrible news that are going on. But we actually are quite positive here today, aren't we? And we are loving our topic of the conversation. Right.
But I think that has to do with the fact that we're speaking about Oriflame. There is just, it's impossible to not be positive. Even in times of challenges, which I think we have spoken about, the fact that things are not easy, and in some of the markets there's many challenges, but even then it's even more important that we speak about how can we work together, what can we do, and how can we actually then change things so they become the way we want them to happen, because we don't want to be victims, we want to be heroes.
Correct, absolutely. Right, shall we start? Henrik, Carolina, Fredrik, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Hello.
So can you then introduce yourself in details, just to let to our people who never met you, around the world, where you actually work, how long you've been with Oriflame?
I'm Carolina Georgieva, and I'm the regional director for Baltics and Hungary. I'm based in Bucharest, in Romania, and I have been in the company for 25 years. I know it sounds like a long time, but believe me, I don't feel like that at all.
Yes, big hands to Carolina. Thank you. Fredrik.
All right. My name is Fredrik Widell, and I've been with Oriflame for 13 years. And I'm the head of South Asia, also heading up our business in India. And I'm based out of New Delhi, India.
I think we should also add, Fredrik, that you are one of those returnees. Someone who thought the grass was greener on the other side. You discovered it wasn't, and now you're back at where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Big hands for Fredrik.
Hi, I'm Henrik. Apparently, I'm the rookie in this team because I've been 16 months with the company. I'm based in Helsinki, Finland, and I'm the MD of Finland.
Thank you, Henrik. Big thanks for Henrik, our MD of Finland.
So we have, of course, started this session speaking about the capabilities or qualities or approaches or attitudes. You can use any word you want, but these three things that I think is to a certain extent the fundamentals of leadership in Oriflame. I'll start with you, Henrik. What do you think? What are your thoughts when we speak about being the center of positive energy, surround yourself with the best people that complements you, and having guts? What are your thoughts?
Well, Magnus, thank you for asking. I will steal ahead of my colleagues here, being center of positive energy, because I'm the first one. And I think, energy is very contagious, Just think about a smile, it gives oxytocin, it gives dopamine, and it makes yourself feel very good, and also your people that are with you in that moment. So just a small thing like a smile is super important. But I think that's just the top of the iceberg. And I think, Magnus, you said that in the beginning that it's good to define what does it mean to be the center of positive energy. And as you said, it's about giving hope to people, instilling hope in people. And I think as a leader, are you at Oriflame or you're a brand partner leader, it's something that we should do, to be honest. As a leader, we have to instill hope in people. And if I could talk in many ways about this, what if there's no light in the end of the tunnel? What happens then? And I have a story from my own personal life in Oriflame, and I will share this now with you. So as I said, I've been 16 months with the company. When I started last year, 1 month into my job, Corona came. The word went ballistic. People were talking about there's going to be a financial crisis, a financial depression, mass unemployment. Outlooks were super grim, and the economy was very foggy in general. Oriflame, of course, we were in the same situation. The sales stopped like in a wall. It plummeted also in Finland. And I was, to be honest, I was a bit worried about this. And as the captain of the ship in Finland, my job is, of course, to keep the boat floating. And I was thinking that, we really have to do something here, and something very, very quick. And I was lucky because I had a very good boss, Jura, who were giving me all this trust to really, think about this together with my management team in Finland. So we embarked on this big exploration that, how will we make sure that whatever happens in the economy, in the business, we will keep floating as a business in Finland, because it was a very, very scary time those days back then, as you remember, I'm sure. And so we did this big exploration, and we came up with a conclusion with the Finnish management team that we need to make a significant restructuring. And this restructuring meant in the end that we also had to lay off more than 35% of our staff, more than 35%. And this, of course, was a very, very sad thing, because these are very, very...
Henrik, it seems like we have a bit of a weak connection with Finland at this stage. I don't know if it is Nokia equipment or what it may be. But I think, unfortunately, I think that what Henrik has said here, for those of you who have not heard, is that Henrik has really made a huge change in Finland, putting a lot of attention, of course, to these qualities, because, of course, both employees, but even more so, of course, the brand partners have to really feel the connection with the company, the understanding of the company, the motivation and the hope of a better future. And I think they really succeeded. We have some great numbers, and I think that is a sign of true and very good leadership of both the Finnish team and the whole Western European team. So I think that you should have a warm hand to Henrik, even if we can't hear what you're saying. Really well done. Should we move on and speak with Carolina and Fredrik and see if we can fix the connection with Finland? And Carolina, you have been in Oriflame for not very long, I would say. You've just started in the company, but anyway, we have had a few years. Of course, one of the questions, you have been in many countries, and it's also one of the challenges being a leader in many different countries is, of course, the need for feeling accepted and being respected and even being liked. How do you see upon this question about being liked? Because sometimes, this is maybe not a popularity contest, but how do you view this question, Carolina?
Hello to everybody. Actually, in my opinion, the leadership is not about being liked. It's about being trusted. And I always see our role as the leaders as a trust builder. And I usually say that, sorry, I'm not responsible for results. I'm only responsible for the people. Because I was lucky to have a strong team in almost these years and different markets. Because when teams trust each other, magic happens. Then creativity enhances, people feel empowered, and this trust speeds up everything in the organization, and we all grow together. So the key question is, who deserves to be on your core team? So in my opinion, hiring is maybe the most important decision of us as the leaders.
Thank you, Carolina.
And I have to say, it might take some months. Do you hear me?
You, yeah.
It might take sometimes with months, but I think, like for example, Baltics team know the last appointment of the Arvius as a managing director, but I think this approach is the fastest way to success at the same time. So my advice is to all managers, never compromise on people. You always need to have the best people on the board. And of course, why process takes a little bit long sometimes? Because it's not only about finding proper professional, it's about having in mind the team dynamics. It's about building a very strong team in order to create balance of diversity, of skills, of experience, and that's really art. Challenges? Always. I recall maybe one of the team challenges in Romania, integration of sales and marketing. It's a never-ending, what is more important? And then at the beginning in the team, there was like quite a tough situation. They couldn't even stand each other, as they're saying. But later, seeing them, how they care and how they support each other, I mean, that's really the beauty.
So, Carolina, we always say that we want to have trust, or we should have trust. But how do you build trust? I mean, trust is not something that is just happening by itself. Or how do you work with trust?
Actually, as a leaders, I think it's very important to create very safe environment. Environment where everybody can say good and bad news, where everybody can share mistakes and success. Environment where we give feedback to each other. We ask for feedback, where everybody is asked for opinion. It doesn't matter is it only of their department or functional responsibility. Environment where we challenge each other, but at the same time when we care for each other. And never forget to have fun, because we should never be so serious. And I think that's absolutely the beauty, because it's not a daily activity, it's a process.
Very, very good. I agree. I think that as you are on to, trust is something that you build from personal relationships where you understand each other, you recognize each other, and you also spend time doing other things to learn about each other, and from there trust will grow. So I think it's important. But I think that the first attitude, the first meeting, you should trust that the person you're meeting is not only good, but it's someone that will actually do the things they say they will do. So start by trusting as a first attitude.
Especially if you spend so much time recruiting this person.
Very
Absolutely.
good. Very, very important. And I think that's one of those things that I'd like to add, actually, that I know sometimes people say, oh, it takes forever in Oriflame to recruit. And that might be true. I mean, it's one of those things we are slow at. However, being slow at recruitment is much better than being bad at having the wrong recruits. So I think it is more important that we actually spend enough time on finding the right people who comes into the company, who will get the trust and the respect, and will actually excel in our company. So I don't think we should be afraid of that point. Now we have Fredrik, who is sitting on needles, because I know he is eager to get in and he has a lot of things on his mind. And it would be great also to get Fredrik's view, because of course you're now out in Asia, and I think there's obviously different international perspectives here as well on leadership in Oriflame. So we'll give you a bit of free space here to develop your thoughts on leadership in Oriflame.
All right, perfect, Magnus. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, if I look at Oriflame, Magnus, Oriflame for me means entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship really and truly is about having guts. Guts in making decisions every single day that lead the company forward. And over my 13 years with Oriflame, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of decisions I've made, but there are many. And there have been successes, but of course there have been failures also. And I think that you have to understand, making decisions, having guts, is about making that decision without having the full picture. And that's where I think people struggle. Many people are fearful of making mistakes, and therefore they think they need the full picture in every single decision. And that's where your guts come in, your intuition and your experience.
Very good. If we and how do you encourage then this among your people? Because as trust, it's easy to say, harder to implement. So Fredrik, how do you drive this question?
Well, I mean, trust is really and truly about truth. Speaking the truth, encourage everybody to speak the truth. And when you hear the truth, you accept it whether it is negative or positive. And I think that's how you build trust. And trust in also making sure that people have the room to make mistakes. And of course, it is about taking decisions and allowing making mistakes. However, perhaps not making the same mistake twice.
Fredrik, can I ask you, because you are Mr. Having Guts in Oriflame. I mean, we know that you have been through different positions, in different situations where, I mean, you really took some very, very important decisions for the company. And I actually have always wondered, have you ever taken any decision that you have regretted?
Yelena, I don't tend to regret as a person. Spending time in history does nothing for me, to be honest. If I spend time in history, I want to learn something. So the answer to your question is no. I have not taken decisions that I am currently regretting. However, I've made decisions that have failed, no doubt. And I'll give you an example quite recently. In the beginning of this year, we decided, myself and the management team, to initiate a bunch of new initiatives for Oriflame in India. And the purpose of this was, of course, to drive top-line sales, but also to capitalize on cost-saving initiatives. And we did the whole homework. We pre-launched it to our top 15. We did our due diligence, and we had everybody with us. When we launched it, it seemed that after a very brief moment in time, 2 of those decisions did not work out. Oriflame and our leaders, we just failed to communicate and convince the brand partners in the lower levels. And it was not for lack of trying, let me tell you that. These were some of the toughest 7 weeks of my 13 years in Oriflame. Every single day, we tried, our leaders tried, and then we realized, without being stubborn or having pride rather, that we had to regroup and reverse those 2 decisions. And now, looking back at this, I can see an abundance of learnings coming from this decision and this failure. And on top of which, we also managed to get even closer to our top 15 our top leaders. And I think it is important to understand that it is better to make decisions and allow some failures, especially if the consequence of the failure is minimal.
I agree. Fredrik, do you allow me to tell a story?
Please.
And you know which one, because of course, once me and Fredrik goes back a long time, and once I was visiting Fredrik in Delhi, and I hadn't been there for a few months or maybe even a year, and it was very exciting. And Fredrik organized a great event, and it was supposed to be a very large event. As I remember, I think it was like 5,000 people. But when we got to the event was, you could feel it was not 5,000 people there. It was a lot more. What had happened was that someone thought the event was so interesting, so they actually had made copies of the tickets. So maybe there were 10,000 people in this event, and this was getting out of hand. And immediately after, we basically had to, maybe I'm exaggerating, but we were, so to speak, fleeing from this event because it was overwhelming in many aspects. And then, as this was obviously not going our way, Fredrik just stood up to me and said, "Magnus, I hereby resign since I failed." and that was one of the easiest decisions, in a sense, that I don't accept his resignation, because it was a very good intention. He had created some incredible excitement about Oriflame. Yes, it did not go the way. The event never happened. But nevertheless, you took a decision. You had the guts to try something new. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it, but we learned. And a few days later, we had a great event in Calcutta, and we were on a winning streak again. So you have to learn from what you do, and if you do, it will turn out great. So thank you, Fredrik, for sticking to it, and lots of good luck. And lots of good luck to Carolina and Henrik, which we have not been able to reconnect. But both Henrik, Carolina, and Fredrik deserves a very warm hand for being great leaders in Oriflame. And we would like to give you all a warm hand.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. So now it is time to look what's happening in the chat. It's a lot of love for Henrik, Carolina, and Fredrik, I see. Fantastic, thank you. Right, guys, so now it's time to reflect on the 3 qualities of the Oriflame leader. And can I please have the slide to remind to everyone that it is to be the center of positive energy, to surround yourself with people who complement you, and to have guts. So now we would like to test the Zoom group rooms again. So actually last time I now got the report that it turned out a bit funny because the breakout didn't actually work, so we all were in the same room, the whole Oriflame, all 1,000 people connecting, trying to talk to each other. You know, it's another sort of clarification that one Oriflame, one team. But let's see if it works now. So now you will be hopefully sent to the group rooms, and we would like to give you 5 minutes to discuss how do you think, what do you think, how do you apply in your everyday life 3 qualities of the Oriflame leader. So let's try it again. Can we please start the Zoom rooms?
You know the feeling when you wake up to a brand new day. You feel the spirit and you know you gotta stand up and say, I feel there's something in the air that says we gotta move on to a higher ground. Now hear me say, I feel that the time is right. You know you gotta stand up and fight. 'Cause you know now I finally realize if you just hold on to your dreams, you know Oriflame will make them come true. Just put your passion and your heart in whatever you do, and when the rain is falling down, you know you make it through. 'Cause if you're feeling down, don't lose your faith, 'cause together we'll be standing strong. Now hear me say, I feel like the time is right. You know you gotta stand up.
Right, we are back. Group rooms, they don't work out. But we never give up in Oriflame, right? So I want some fire in the chat. So we take the reflection here, live, together with everyone. Can you just please give me some ideas, some reflections? What do you think about 3 qualities of the Oriflame leader? Like, not like, work, will you try? What's your favorite one? To be the center of positive energy, to surround yourself with people to complement you, and to have guts. Come on, let's have guts. Let's put it in the chat. Mike, can you get them some music going?
Now hear me say, I feel that the time is right. You know you gotta stand up and fight. 'Cause you know now I finally realize if you just hold on to your dreams, you know Oriflame will make them come.
Right, so we have that the big room is more fun, center of positive energy, everybody is liking. 3 are great, but have guts is the coolest one. Positive energy, center of positive energy. Christ, and this is fire in the chat. Thank you. Magnus, it feels like we actually nailed those 3 qualities of the Oriflame leader. What shall we do now? Because, you know, I actually have a question. Because when you hear, you know, Fredrik speaking, when you hear Carolina, I mean, knowing you, we are so used to have people in, especially in our sales organizations, that are really extroverted. They are really liking being on stage. You know, they are fantastic, charismatic leaders. And of course, they are the centers of positive energy, you know, and of course, they have fantastic teams who adore them. And of course, they have guts, you know, because people are there following them. But then I'm also thinking, but does that mean then in order to make a management career in Oriflame and in order to become a leader in Oriflame, you have to be a loud extrovert and you have to love it, you know, with being on stage?
I think it is very important that we put this in perspective, because it is very easy that we think that Oriflame is about the loud conferences and being the one that who's always on stage and charismatic and driving, and that we think that that is being the center of positive energy and having guts. However, that's not true. Those 3 qualities are equally strong in the people who are introvert or people who are not as loud, who are not screaming, who's not dancing, because it's not about the way you express it. It is the way people feel it when they are with you and the way you act. And therefore, it's very important for us that we also highlight the fact that these are fantastic opportunities to show various leaders in Oriflame, and that's what we're going to do now.
Yes, so shall we invite our next guest?
Absolutely, because it's fantastic to have our next guest from our supply chain. And we have Maciej and Jakub with us. And we will now speak to them about being leaders in Oriflame, in the not sales companies, but actually in the very important supply chain of Oriflame.
Hello, how are you? Hi Maciej, hi Jakub.
Hi guys.
Hello everybody.
Yeah, good to check. Can we hear you? Can you talk loud so we can hear what you're saying? So we check the internet connections with Warsaw.
Good
Yes, we
afternoon,
can.
everyone.
That's good. They can both speak at the same time, which is a good sign that things are working well. So the question here, first of all, we would like you to introduce yourselves, since that's very important for the audience to know who you are.
So let me start. Hello everybody. So I am Maciej Rybicki. I have the honor to lead a great global supply chain team. I am with Oriflame for 3.5 years now. Previously working in various supply chain positions in social selling companies, having executive position in supply chain, and also in consulting. Altogether, I am already 30 years with supply chain.
Jakub?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jacob from Supply Planning. I'm really excited to be here. My journey with Oriflame started 12 years ago. At first, I was a buyer at our factory OPP, and then I was promoted to our Warsaw office to Global Supply Planning. I've been working for almost 20 years in supply chain, and I still love it. And probably I have the longest beard in Oriflame.
Love it.
We will find out very soon, Jakub, if you have the longest beard. I'm sure there will be people coming up with some examples of someone who's maybe having a longer one. But seriously, let's get back to the question which Elena asked me, because I think there is this about our values, our way of expressing ourselves. People tend to believe that's for extroverts, and introverts do not fit in as well in Oriflame. What is your view? And Maciej, if you start with you.
I think that being extrovert probably better applies to, let's say, our sales organizations. We will have more introvert people in supply chain, but not also. I think in some of our back office functions, you would find probably more composition of this kind. Our jobs require different styles and different competencies. But when you take these two groups, sales, marketing, and back office functions, I think it's like in life. The balance of both extra and introvert will be very similar. Our TSP values, how you live them, the three qualities of Oriflame leadership, positive energy, surround yourself with people who complement you and have guts, does not depend on one style or the other. You can be a great Oriflamian, having a lot of togetherness, spirit, and passion without manifesting this and being introvert.
I think that's it. I'd like to just stress again what Maciej says. First of all people in supply chain are not introverts. Let's start with that one. And the second thing is also, which I think is important to highlight, that having guts does not mean being unprofessional in any shape or form. We still expect everyone to gather as much as information as you can, try to be as professional about your decision as you possibly can. But in the end of the day, you have to take a decision. And even in supply chain, you will not know everything upon the time when you're going to take the decision. So you have to trust in your instincts, in your own gut. There's no difference in that sense, but it's never ever can we say that I took a decision from my gut just because I didn't want to be professional. In Oriflame, we are super professional, but in the end of the day, you can't wait. You have to take a decision. But in the end of the day, we are not here to speak about that really. Maciej, Jakob, there are special reasons why you are here today, and give us the insights of why are you here to talk about leadership.
We have a great mentoring program in Poland for employees who would like to develop and grow. I, in the past, was in few of such programs myself, and they gave a lot to me. So when I was asked to be a mentor, I actually immediately said yes. So I could offer my perspective, my views, my experience, and support for those who would like to develop. This is how Jakub and myself started to work together and discussing, among other things, also leadership style.
Jakub, and why did you want to have a mentor?
Yeah, I wanted to develop my leadership skills, as one day I want to be on a position like Maciej has and lead a big team like Maciej has.
So you actually wanted to learn all Maciej's secrets, right?
Yes, exactly.
So Maciej, what are your secrets? What are your leadership secrets?
This is not a great secret, but to explain this, let me tell you a story. I participated myself in a mentoring program as a mentee many years ago. My first mentor was Doug Myers, a retired senior CEO, a great American gentleman. After first 1 or 2 sessions, he said to me, Maciej, when we have our sessions, basically 90% of the time you are talking, and I am talking only 10% of the time. This is not a dialogue at all. You have to listen and ask questions more than you currently do. And this led me to a conclusion that up to this moment, I thought actually that being directive, talkative, telling people what to do is actually a skill required from a manager. Even more, 360 feedback confirms that this is my strong part. So I said, oh, great, I'm developing as a manager in the right direction. I was so wrong. I actually started to practice listening and asking questions more, and I discovered the power of this, because this is opening people, involving people, this is building trust, respect. You can actually learn so much more, and you have much more options to choose from when you involve and listen to others. This style also accelerated then my career, which developed very fast after I started to change myself from this more directive style to a more listening, asking question style. There is, and I hope that this makes me also a better individual personally in life. There is a great quote actually from Dalai Lama, who said that when you talk, you repeat what you already know. When you listen, you have a chance to learn something. So this is why listening and asking questions is so important to me now.
Thank you so much, Maciej. Love the quote. Jakub, so what hands-on tips then you have learned from Maciej about this listening type of leadership?
Yes, as Maciej said, listening, active listening is very important. So he gave me 3 tips. One of them is use silence. So don't be afraid of being silent for a moment. That might encourage people to speak or to reflect. Ask open questions, because this will help you to understand other person, and recognize instead of judging. So don't disagree with what's being said, but ask for a clarification.
What if you then? What are the things that you've really applied during this time? The things that you've learned and you've applied it.
Okay, so there is an example that I can share with you. So last year, due to COVID impact, our biggest pump supplier, Aptar, decided to increase the lead time from 8 weeks to 24 weeks, which immediately and negatively impacted a big range of products, including our hero brand Novage. And at the beginning, we tried to force the supplier to deliver the pumps as requested. We didn't want to hear any explanations. We wanted the results. And we got stuck in a point that we reached, a boiling point. And the breakthrough came when we really started to listen instead of judging what Aptar was saying. And active listening and asking questions help us to detect challenges and the difficulties Aptar was also facing. And instead of presenting again out of stocks, we started to collaborate to create jointly an action plan. And we saw a change in Aptar attitude. They felt more comfortable with sharing additional information with us. They involved more people to work on the topic, including their top management. And we realized that we cannot impose a solution, but by active listening, we can really understand the topic and ask open questions. And that led to a situation when Aptar was completely involved in solving this challenge. And when they came back with the proposals, we did not judge. We thanked and we asked for more. And thanks to the trust and connection that we built, they managed to provide even other solutions. And in the end, Oriflame needs were completely covered, and all the involved parties like planning, procurement, and manufacturing were on the same page. And our out-of-stock situation started to improve.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a really interesting story how it turned around really well like this. Maciek, so if we then just go back, because we really want the practical usage, from this session. So if we then summarize, what are the 3 main learnings people should have today from our conversation about listening in leadership? What would that be?
Listening and asking a question is a powerful management style, encouraging others to open, involve, and participate and share ideas. So using silence is a great tool for inviting others, as well as give you time to actually think, and others also time to think about things. Asking open questions builds trust and involvement. And then recognizing versus judging opens you to others' ideas, lets them understand you better versus being oriented yourself. So if you could keep this 3 things, use silence, ask open questions, recognize instead of judging, I think this is a great point to start, and this is a great way to cooperate, involve, open, and share.
Thank you so much. We actually summarized it for all of you on a slide. Can we have a slide, please? Yes. So that you can see all this wonderful advice that we got from Maciek and from Jakub today. So guys, thank you so much. And before we part, before we thank them, I just would like to say that I've just saw in the chat that Jan Wilmek would like to challenge Jakub on the beard. This is actually quite fun. So I think you guys should get in touch.
Okay.
Good. Thank you so much. Big hands
Let's
to
put our
Maciek
hands
and
together
Jakub.
for Maciek and Jakub. Thank you so much.
Right, so let's see what's happening here. So thank you, Maciek. How do you build trust and openness is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing. I also saw the quote here that somebody wrote that when you start the conversation, it is really important why you're asking question. Are you asking a question to listen and understand or to reply? Listening and asking to clarify, very important to create and give solution. Well said, Maciej and Jakub. Really, really great. So now, thank you so much for this. I hope that you took those learnings with you. Yes, so use silence in your conversation to practice listening leadership. Ask open questions so that people can elaborate on their ideas. and build trust in your teams by being authentic, by listening, by giving space. It's not all about us, isn't it? It's about the person who is in front of us. Right, Magnus? This about, building trust, getting connected to each other. We actually did quite a big thing last week, didn't we? So we had a very, very big organizational change.
We did.
Yes.
It was important that we explained, I think, last week at the CEO Connect that we really need to work in a different way, a new way.
Yes, and it's interesting because we had CEO Connect, then we had quite a lot of follow-up team meetings with different teams who were affected, also with bigger teams, just to understand, explain and understand what questions and what issues do people have within your organization. And there is actually one question that was returning. And this is the term of connected organization that we now have introduced. So I think that the term is fantastic. And a lot of people are loving it around the Oriflame world because, Oriflame one way, one team, one Oriflame. The separated Zoom rooms don't work on us, some sort of energy going on here. We're all together. But what are those dotted lines? Why are we doing this with multiple dotted lines? What would they mean? Is that so that we are now trying to impose more bureaucracy, to do the sort of like a very, very firm matrix? Are we going to outrule each other decisions? People are a bit worried about this. So could we now take just a minute to clarify that?
Well, of course, we have to clarify, if needed to be, that this organizational change, or this new way of working, is inevitable a result of togetherness, spirit, and passion. One Oriflame, one team. We are a small company, which are fighting the giants of the beauty industry and of the direct selling industry, of the social selling industry. And therefore, we need to be more agile, we need to be faster in our decision making, and we have to be able to be more informed. And we have to trust each other. Therefore, the connecting organization enables each function and each geography, both countries and regions, to actually act faster by having better information, by having access to better expertise, by using resources more efficiently. So it's of course still, in the end, there will have to be decisions made by, so to speak, the line management. But by having connecting lines, we get access to more resources, we can be better in decision making, and we will be faster, so we can use our guts even more.
Yeah, can I just add a little thing on this as well?
Sure.
Because, we get a lot of questions about how careers are to be made in Oriflame and, and how for me to get to know that there is an opportunity in another organization. So that's what we've done now with Connected Organization. We've created dotted lines, with the two streams that we have built, with the hybrid, is that we actually opened up our organization for exposure and for internal mobility. Because now we actually have an opportunity to move people from regions to global, from global to regions. It's more clear how the roles are connected, and also hopefully that through working together in joint projects, you will get to know each other better. And this exposure means that I know not only people who are sitting in front of me in the physical office, but I also know people in other countries. And then when the time comes or there is an opportunity, they're there and I know whom to call. So, and I think this actually means a lot for us in Oriflame, and it is really also a very, very important side of the connected organization that we are trying to create. But Magnus, I have actually another question, because it's all fantastic in theory, but how do we know that it actually can work in practice, this connected organization?
Well, of course, we have to realize that when you're making a change, as we have spoke about, when we are making a change, when we're going to work in a new way, there will be challenges and there will be opportunities. So some of those challenges will mean that we have to adapt, we have to change, we have to be agile in the sense of understanding. But there are ways of learning from some people in Oriflame who is already working very connected. But the main point here is that we have to start by realizing we have one vision, one strategy, one team, one Oriflame. And when we have that, we know that the enemy is always on the outside of Oriflame. On the inside, we have colleagues, we have friends, and together, with spirit and passion, we can achieve incredible things. But today, we're going to speak to some who actually knows how to work in a connected way already, in a very agile way. And therefore, it's great to invite some to the studio and some virtually in this new world. And that is Marcus Vogel, it is Sherry Rabat, and it is René Anders. So please put your hands together so we can meet them. So great having you here.
Great being here.
Great to be here.
Hello.
We know you well. Maybe, by the way, René, hi, how are you? We should not forget in this hybrid way of working, it's easy to get connected around the table. But can we just, maybe just an introduction so that we get to know who are you and why?
All right. So I'm Marcus. I'm responsible for delivering our digital platforms, our business applications, and the Oriflame app suite. I work very closely to René and the global IT team, and as well as Sherry and the rest of the global digital services team. And I've been in Oriflame for about 20 years.
Time flies.
Yep.
Sherry?
And yes, I work as a UX UI designer.
Can you explain what that is?
UX stands for user experience, and
User
UI
experience.
stands for user interface.
Very good.
And I work in one of our product teams called presentation team, where we basically work with the product discovery. And I've been at Oriflame for 3 years now.
Okay.
I think Sherry has the coolest job. I didn't understand half of the words that she said, but they are so cool, aren't they?
It is cool.
Right, and then René, yeah.
Hello, my name is René, and as an IT director, supporting my teams who are responsible for online platform, IT quality assurance, and part of the online features. For about 20 years, and as many of our IT colleagues, I'm located in Czech Republic.
Cool. Thank you. So,
of course, I work with Marcus and his entire team, but we don't have any direct lines, or I'm not reporting to Marcus. We are more working like a partners.
So what you are saying now, that you are all working together, but you don't really report to each other, and you don't even have the dotted lines, correct? Right. So how does that work?
Well, first of all, in short, it works very well. We have a great collaboration. We're two completely separate functions with separate management. We, however, share the same vision with focus on creating business value and customer value. And to do this, we have then composed cross-functional teams of experts, as well as managers, that work together in independent teams, making their own decisions on how to deliver on this vision. And each team then makes these decisions, of course, based on their expertise that they possess themselves within the team, and also to a large part relying on our colleagues, our stakeholders in different functions around the company, and most importantly of all, most likely, is that they rely on user research and user testing. So to make sure that this collaboration remains effective at all times, each team really needs to have full control of the decisions they make. They need to have a very high level of management trust, and we need to be very, very effective and spend a lot of attention to how we communicate. And we need to communicate a lot inside the teams and outside.
Thank you, Marcos. I know that what you now have described is actually have a name, correct? And it is called Agile methodology. Yes. And I also know, and I'm now turning to René, that René, you are actually one of our earliest adopters of Agile methodology in Oriflame. So the question to you is, why did you decide with your team, quite some time ago actually, to start working Agile?
Well, we started about 10 years back with adopting of the Agile methodologies or something like that. And at that time, we wanted to improve delivery of our software, of the online to our customers and to our brand partners. Because at that time, we were issuing between 3 and 5 new versions of online per year. Yeah. And that's why we want to address that and also eliminate some of our bottlenecks. And at that time, Agile was a hype, and Scrum was really cool buzzword addressing those issues with the delivery and prioritization. So we just wanted to see what is that. And after a brief research over the internet, we found out that this methodology is very close to the agile thinking of Oriflame, yeah? That it's more or less like compatible with what we were used to do. Yeah. So that's why we have discussed with Marcus and agreed that, okay, let's give it a try. And we were learning on the way. And of course, that means we made a lot of mistakes at the early beginnings. Yeah.
René, I actually have a question, because you now said some of those words, you know, scrums, sprints, epics, and my team and I will also actually try to use Agile. And you know, like in first, you sort of get scared of all this terminology, you know, all the things that you need to understand. You know, you get scared that, well, suddenly you cannot take all the decisions, or is it a completely different process? And how actually you work with this? Was it difficult to implement?
Well, actually, it was not so difficult, because we have to decide if we wanted to try or not. And thanks to Oriflame culture, where you know that no one will punish you for the fast fail and for the mistakes, it was pretty easy, yeah, to decide and to agree with Marcus that we will give a try.
But how did you agree with all the managers that they cannot continue with the decision-making process and the constant approval process that we're used to?
Well, I would say we communicated that it will not have any impact to our speed of delivery and the quality, and they simply gave us a full trust to implement this style of the working.
And then, so what is the style? So Marcus, can you just explain one more time? So as a manager, you don't take all the decisions?
No, you delegate full decisions to these independent or autonomous teams. And they, since they are the experts and they have lots of experience in the field, and they have all the information based on research, they are the most capable to make these decisions.
So what is it left for manager to do then?
That's a good question, and this is why I like working in this way so much, because then
not a lot for you to do. Huh?
Well, as a manager, you can then focus a lot on coaching the teams and working on the business objectives, and most importantly, perhaps also communicating your own functional objectives to the rest of the organization, because that type of awareness is really essential for succeeding in your deliveries as one part of achieving the global vision.
Yeah. René, what's your view? What is it left for manager to do?
Yeah, if I can add to that, I would say that we do whatever is needed, or in other words, we do the stuff that no one likes to do. For example, like making contracts with the vendors, negotiating with them, purchasing of the licenses, helping with the alignment of the processes and tools, etc. Yeah.
So, but if we then turn to the expert around the table then, but I guess sometimes you're experts and sometimes you're managers. It's a bit of dualities here. But Sherry, as an expert, is it true that you are able to take 100% of the decision then?
Not all the decisions, but when it comes to design questions, I do get to take decisions both on my own and together with my design team. But of course, there's a lot of work behind it. Mm-hmm. And I also work very close to my product owner. Mm-hmm. And
who is not your manager then?
No, who is my... and my product owner and my product team. Mm. So, I mean, we come to solutions and take decisions together. Mm. But we have a process where we go through, I mean, we do our research, we do benchmark, and then we look at data, we test and sketch, and then we align with IT to see like what technical possibilities we have and not have. And then we create prototypes of function on our website, and then maybe we we test again. And during this process, we try to involve each other as much as we can so that we can take a decision together.
Are you afraid of making mistakes in this type of situation? Because
I would say that one of the great things being a designer and working agile is that we have the possibility to, to try and to test. Because we don't know if we're doing the right thing unless we try it on our users. And if it's wrong, if it's not right, then we get super valuable feedback. And then we can quite fast do it again and do it correct. And also, I'm never alone. And I think it's quite hard to do an epic fail when there's so many iterations during the process where
But anyway, I mean, let's get down to this question because it sounds great. It almost sounds theoretical, even though I know you do it in practice. But what happens then? Because I know that people are afraid of the matrix organization or connecting organizations because who in the end takes the decision if there are disagreements? What happens?
Of course. Since the product team is then usually the expert, they sit with all the information. So most of the time they make the decision and they agree on which direction to turn. In some cases, that does not happen the way it's expected. And then, of course, the manager will decide. Manager will have the responsibility to also collect the facts, look at the situation, and make decisions. So in that case, we follow the reporting line.
So in the end of the day, the manager cannot blame, so to speak, downwards. The manager has to assume responsibility for the decisions that are being taken.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's an important clarification.
Yeah. René, what are the challenges with working agile? Are there any?
Definitely there are. I would say there are two challenges. One is about for the manager to really give a full delegation to the team, as Markus was talking about. And the second challenge is the communication, because especially IT and digital services, we are not sitting together. We are located in Czech Republic and in Stockholm. And it means that a lot of communications misunderstandings are happening here and there. People tend to be fast, so they are rather using a chat instead of talks or calls over the teams. We are human beings, so we tend to assume that whatever was briefly discussed on a planning meeting is a crystal clear, and the way how I understand that, everybody have to understand that. And so it's happening that here and there some misunderstandings are happening, and it's one of the roles of the managers and also senior experts to recognize that and help with the clarification. And it's very important for us to always be open and respectful to the colleagues and to the work they do. And as Magnus mentioned at the beginning, we are all working in one team. We are on one boat. The enemy is not in between us, and we are working towards one common goal. Yeah, so this is very important for anyone from the team to still keep it in mind. And if we do so, then the cooperation and communication goes smoothly.
Thank you so much, René. And then, Sherry, and what's the best with working agile?
The best with working agile is it feels like there's no hierarchy in our team. And I think that's mainly because Markus has such confidence in us, but also we know that we are the experts on what we do. So I think, to be honest, maybe we struggle more with trying to prove ourselves and our expertise to other teams.
Thank you. René, you told me an interesting thing, because we have spoken quite a few times last year when you tried to explain to my team, how to switch to agile. And you told me an interesting thing, that when you work agile, one day you can be a manager and another day you can be an expert. Is that true?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of the agile, which I like, because I can play more roles that I'm capable to play. So really, today I can play the role of the manager, and tomorrow, if needed, I can wear the shoes of the experts and help with the projects.
It's quite interesting. I actually was looking at the chat a bit there, and people are pretty keen to learn more. So we probably need to come back to this topic and maybe do deeper discussions about the topic. But if we round up here a bit, Markus, what are the main takeaways then about agile methodology? What should we all know in order to understand and demystify agile?
I think to make sure that this way of working actually functions the way it's intended, increased productivity and moving the organization forward in a positive fashion, it's number one is, we spoke about it earlier, is to make sure that you delegate the responsibility and the decisions to the experts. They sit with the information. Number two is make sure to communicate. All decisions, all plans, everything that is done needs to be communicated, not only inside or within the team, also to management, to the extended functions of the company, etc. And very important as well, make sure to build trust. So the teams really need to feel that the managers trust the team and the capabilities of the team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think that is a very great words in the sense that there is a new way of working and does not even need dotted or connecting lines, but it has to be clear on respect and trust of each other, having confidence in each other, and letting people take decisions, meaning that you have surrounded yourself with the best people who complements you. But in the end of the day, still, there needs to be decisions taken, and those decisions need to be taken by leaders. And I think that's also a great take home from this. Thank you. I think we should put our hands together for Sherry, for Markus, and for René for connecting. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now you can see on the screen, so the main takeaways from our conversation and what we have learned from Agile. And Agile is a very fascinating methodology. I promise you from the employee experience side that we will try to organize the trainings about it and about design thinking as well, because this is something that every team needs to know now and understand. But the main takeaways that Markus summarized so well is that you need to be able to delegate if you want to be flexible and agile and not interfere. Trust the experts. You need to be able to communicate constantly to avoid confusion, because you know when you work in the very, very fast pace, it's very important that you are all aligned towards one vision. And the last thing is to build teams with trust. And it's actually quite interesting because every single guest that we're having today in the studio, they're coming back with the trust. Before we go to our next topic, Magnus, I would like actually us to reflect about the thing, and then please be ready to put your thoughts in the chat. Because you know, in Oriflame, when we say something, oh, there is a new way of working, or there is a new methodology, do we now mean that everybody should start working agile from tomorrow, you know, and do sprints and scrums and so on? Or do you think that we can apply agile in all organizations immediately?
Well, first of all, I think there's a lot to learn from being agile in every sense of the word. And I think that the connections and the dotted lines that we have are, so to speak, highlighting the fact that we do have experts who are functionally responsible or geographically responsible in a function. And they are to be trusted because they have a special responsibility for a certain part of a bigger picture. And I think that goes in all of our companies. So from that perspective, I think it really works everywhere. Then, of course, as they are now working in the digital sector, maybe there are more interactive projects that are slightly different than maybe in some other parts of the organization where we're working more static. That I can't say, but we have opened the door for the thinking, and I think that's the most important, because we need to use our resources in the best way. And we have to have the most interesting task for the great people we have, and to use them and use the ideas and interact. And remember, the enemy is on the outside, and on the inside we need to work together.
Yes. Can we actually now try something? Could we then ask you, the audience, to put in the chat what parts of organizations you think we should look at in order to apply the agile way of working?
Please.
So please give us some answers. Can we be with the speed of lightning? Some answers about who can work agile, who would like already to commit to learn it already today. Pre and PD. Me, it says. Mohammed, absolutely, we will do this. This is employee experience. NPD, R&D, I would like to learn acquisition team, HR, Indonesia, indirect procurement, employee experience. The whole Mexico sends regard. Santiago, your own sustainability team supply, well, quite a lot. So definitely something to look into and to maybe have more trainings on this and more understanding.
Super exciting. I think it is definitely something that will give us an edge going forward.
Yeah. Magnus, the whole session today, it's about how our culture is connected to the leadership and how it forms the leadership qualities. So my questions to you now is that, where does it all come from for Oriflame? How did it start? Where did you learn your leadership qualities from? How did they form? And why is it so important for Oriflame to have legacy?
Very good question, Yelena. I think that not last week, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, time flies so fast. We had the TSP reboot, Togetherness, Spirit and Passion, rebooting our culture. But it's not really rebooting because fundamentally, Oriflame has a very, very clear culture. And I think that at the TSP reboot, it became also very clear where, so to speak, we can see where it comes from. It has been with us most likely since 1967 because it was already engraved to a large extent in Robert and Jonas. And as you remembered, we had a great interview with Robert where he definitely gave a lot of insight into his drivers and why he is here. And of course, that translates into many of the things that we talk about when we talk about culture. And as you heard just a few minutes ago, for me, the behavior of Robert became very obvious why this was a company for me. Not what he said or what he did somehow, but his behavior in his natural doings. I felt that this is a company where I have found role models that are incredible. And therefore, at this session, we're going to continue this search for legacy and search for seeing how important it is that we are role models, because it always starts with us. But for us, it starts with someone else that are the role models for us. But we are role models for others. And therefore, we have today going to take the, so to speak, the other part of the legacy from Robert and Jonas and speak to someone who's actually worked most likely closer to Jonas than anyone else. Well, with the exception of Robert, of course. And that will be an interesting journey into the leadership of Jonas of Jokknik, a visionary man who actually, incredibly enough, one of the very few, started from zero, 2 companies that made it on the big stock exchange in Sweden. And to help us understand more about Jonas and about himself is the CEO of Medicover, Fredrik Rågmark. So let's put our hands together to meet Fredrik and to talk about the legacy.
Jag hade signat upp för en annan karriär. Jag skulle flytta till ett annat ställe i världen, i en helt annan bransch.
Men det var då du skulle på JP Morgan och bli banker.
Och sen den här, min gode vän, han insisterade verkligen på att jag skulle träffa Jonas. Till den grad att man nästan blev liksom, kan du inte bara sluta nu? Jag har ju fått ett jobb. Men hur som helst så vi gick i alla fall på den här lunchen. Vi åt lunch på verandan på Grand Hotel i mars, tror jag det var, 91. Och då naturligtvis på 2 timmar så blev jag ju övertygad om att det där andra, det var ju inte någonting att hålla på med. Utan det var ju det här som vi skulle hålla på med. På samma tema som du beskrev Oriflame då 30 år tidigare. Vi kom in när vi kunde liksom ingenting om hälsovård, absolut ingenting. På det viset Medicover startade i Warszawa och byggde upp då en verksamhet i Polen. Huvudsakligen runt omkring att vi sålde försäkringar till arbetsgivare och sen leverera all vård till deras personal i våra egna kliniker och sjukhus. Och det är fortfarande i hela vår koncern den liksom största enskilda verksamheten.
Och sen under de här 20, vad säger vi då, att det är 23 åren så har då Medicover byggts upp från att ha haft en handfull anställda och kanske 1 eller 2 vårdkliniker. Och nu går vi ju verkligen, jag menar, nu omsätter vi någonstans på 6 miljarder och vi växer ju med en, vad är det vi säger, vi får bara säga vad vi har sagt i prospektet. Vi växer ungefär med 15% någonting.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. And of course, we will spend time to talk about Jonas. But Fredrik, I know you well. But the truth is that once you were, well, we always say that you're always an Oriflamian, so I guess you're also an Oriflame. But once your employment contract was with Oriflame, so we somehow would like to start with you, talk about you and your starting.
Yeah, no. So I had the pleasure, privilege to start to work with Jonas very early when the East European adventure started. So we were just a couple of people in the office in Belgium. So I was sent out to work with Poland and in Romania. And we built a factory in Poland. There's still a big supply base.
Biggest supplier.
Yeah, exactly. So no, that was fun. And then I got sent out to the Far East to look after Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia for about 1.5 years. And so that was about 3.5, 4 years. But then I continued then with Jonas and family But that's how it started.
If we who are you then, so to speak? Because you what kind of education do you have and background, and what is your, so to speak?
Well, I went to business school and have a law degree. So I mean, I don't know, this was in Swedish, this movie that was played. But actually the funny thing was that I had actually a completely different career path planned out. I mean, really planned out, signed effectively. And then Jonas convinced me over a lunch to of course, come and work with Oriflame, which was the best thing that could happen. Or could have happened. So we moved to Belgium in 91, I believe, in spring. Me and my wife at the time, Helena, still is my wife, and we were going to stay for 2 years. And we ended up staying 25 years.
Stay 25 years in Belgium?
Yes.
And 3 kids?
3 kids, exactly.
But they are still at home? Or
well, I mean, they were supposed to have been gone, but now with 1.5 years of pandemic, we've had them at home. So, like many other families, I think. So it's been very nice. And now back in Stockholm as well.
What was it that time, that lunch at the Grand, that Jonas said that made you change your signed, so to speak, career path of a famous international bank, and instead going to work for, quite an odd company, because Oriflame in 1991 was not known by more people than almost Jonas and Robert themselves.
I think that's sort of the essence of it. And although it's, I said, 25 years since I left Oriflame, I think there's and most of the people listening to this don't really know Medicover, but I think it's actually a big resemblance in the culture in the two businesses, which is really how Jonas was and how Robert is. And I think that was what made that lunch change my life, because it's when I stood waiting, listening to you before we started here now, you were just making the point. It's Robert, I think, had said it's what you do. It's not necessarily what you say or what people write, but it's what you do. And I think if there's one thing that Jonas has represented, he was really very present, and he sort of stood up for his word. And I think that certainly, I think, was the reason for leaving that lunch, having changed my mind, and also I think why he was so incredibly successful to get people to follow him.
So the driving force for your change of decision was really Jonas and the way he behaved?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the term here, so this with sort of authenticity, and somehow I think, on the one hand, of course, you can learn. That's what we're trying to do here. I'm sure learn some aspects of leadership, but also is, leadership got to be within you. And I think that thing with, being authentic. In fact, I think that is leadership. I don't think you can try to be something you're not. So, but actually, by being yourself in a good way, that is. I think and I think Jonas very much represented that. He was a really authentic person, and I think that certainly is the culture in Medicover, and I think very much the culture in Oriflame as well.
Before we get into more on that, just to get the audience to because we have spoken a lot today about being the center of positive energy and having guts, and we'll get back to those things because I think those are, to a very large extent, what Jonas was about and how.
Sure.
But the third one is clearly also surround yourselves with people that complement you, because Jonas was great in attracting great people. But if we now speak about Fredrik again, one of the challenges that you face, and many in Oriflame, is of course the challenge of I might be responsible for a country or for a region or for a function. But even if I'm responsible, I don't know everything in that function. I have to, so to speak, trust the people I have. You are a lawyer and a business person. You're not a medical doctor. And you work in an environment where you're supposed to provide medical services. How do you manage in a situation where you are not the expert? You really have to trust your people. How do you see upon this?
Well, I mean, you can say in Medicover today, we're approaching 35,000 people employed. So, it's a lot of people. We have about 75% of our staff have at least one university degree, so super well educated. Really smart people. I think almost 80% are women. So it's a very well educated, smart workforce, largely in a field where I don't come from. Now, I think the way to deal with that in my mind is this traditional, saying that you got to surround yourself with the right people. And although it sounds a bit boring because that's what people always say, but I think that is the essence of it, that somehow, one mistake that I have seen being made by some people is that somehow, perhaps sometimes you don't dare or you're not comfortable to recruit people that are much better than yourself. Because,
why do you think that is?
Well, I think because better people can always be seen as a threat. Because perhaps if I have some really clever people around me, someone will realize that, well, they're cleverer than you are, so perhaps they get your no. But I'm saying I think that's
what you mean,
I think I'm not saying that happens all the time, but I think it's not unusual that you see that happening. So I think it's a leadership skill to have the courage to let go. And if you have the right people around you, in my...
How do you know they are the right people if you don't know what they're doing?
Well, I mean, if you take the technical experts that deal with how a hospital should be built, etc., of course, then you can only judge from their track record. But the point I wanted to make is that the people that you put in around you, I always say, the most difficult part of the job I have, and probably your job, is recruitment. Because, fact of the matter is that quite often it doesn't work out. And I think the thing that you can impact is to be, honest enough to yourself. So, realize quickly enough when you have not made the right decision and change. But most of the times you make the right decision and then really give people the freedom, the empowerment, the space to move and act. And I think that is the recipe for success in terms of a very distributed kind of organization that we are.
If we reverse the question, because now we've spoken about you as a leader trusting your people, and that is important, but there's also another fact is that what do you do to earn the respect from your people?
Well, I think respect is something that is earned. Again, I say behavior and what you do. I mean, it's not what someone will write about you, things like that. So if you actually do what you say you will do, people will respect you, and you stand up for your organization, you stand up for your people. I think that builds trust. You know, trust is probably the most important thing in an organization in terms of relationships. You can very quickly break trust. Trust takes, you know, obviously quite some time to build up. But I think that's the most important thing in terms of having, besides, you know, being a motivator and you know, getting people to come with you, but that bond and trust that people know you will stand up for them in terms of the organization.
If we then go and speak more about Jonas, and how would you, I mean, if we take a bigger perspective, how would you describe Jonas for those who have never met him?
You know, he was a really nice, trusting man, super intelligent, very empowering, who had a very clear vision what he wanted to achieve, had the guts, as I heard you, you know, he had the guts to take calculated risks, surrounded himself with the right people, and then let them run with it. So don't get too much involved in actually executing on his vision, but set the stage and have the courage to provide the means. I mean, if you take Medicover, that again, you know, we've been running now for 26, 27 years, so about half the time of Oriflame, I guess. And nowadays, you know, we do well, and everyone says it's a success, etc. But I was saying to someone else the other day that what one should not forget is the first 10 years of our history. You know, we lost money all over the place. And there were a long line of people say, well, that's just not going to work. And Jonas, he just never, ever hesitated that will work. You know, this never give up thing. That he just preached day in and day out, this will work. So if there ever was someone doubting that, you know.
It wasn't Jonas.
No, that wasn't Jonas. So I think, you know, that belief in yourself, belief in that this will work, of course, that also transmits into the organization around you. So I think that was a very, very important skill he had.
We have a tendency of speaking about those who were with us in the beginning and then became successful as, and you sometimes think of Jonas, you know, with two major companies on the major stock exchange list. Well, now Oriflame is private, but in the end of the day, very few individuals get to put one company on the stock exchange. He was able to put two, but we should also be honest about the fact that all of the ventures that Jonas entered were not successful.
Absolutely.
How did he act when things did not go his way?
Well, he didn't really like that. So I think, you know, he didn't really like that. I mean, I think the best way to describe that is, you know, he played a lot of tennis, played golf in the later part of life, and he just absolutely hated to lose. And even I beat him sometimes in sports, so I know exactly how that was. And you know, he was a little bit the same thing with these ventures that didn't really go so well. So then I think most of them actually found a good harbor anyway. But you know, he put in a lot of effort. Yeah, you could see his personality coming through in that way as well.
My experience was because some years there, when I was, so to speak, my family was living in Moscow and I was working in Brussels. I was quite often lonely at evenings, and then Jonas and Christina invited me home for dinners. And sitting in their kitchen having dinner, I always got the feeling that he was very seldom, so to speak, pressing me on why things had gone wrong. He always wanted me to talk about how were we going to get out of the challenges that we had. Is that a fair say that he was more focused on solving problems than why they were there?
Absolutely, I think that's I haven't thought about it exactly that way, but it's so true. I mean, the way I have put it quite often, he almost never asked me a question or wanted to talk about things that were going well. Because, well, of course they do well, because you run the company, so it's going to be well. So we should spend the time talking about what is not going well, so where I can help you. So let's focus on what is not going well, and then we can sort that out together. So I think that's also, you know, it's the opposite of a sort of blame culture. I think that's what you're saying. You know, if things don't go wrong, we're not entrepreneurial. I mean, if you don't do mistakes, the only thing you know then is you don't do anything. Because if you do things in a business development fashion, you know, 1 times out of 3 it's going to go wrong. That's just the law of nature. So he was really adamant never to blame for mistakes. But then on the other hand, wanting to be very present is the word I use. So, you know, as you were saying around the dinner table, he literally called me. That's a personal anecdote, but it's a fun thing to say to show how it was. I think he called me 3 out of 4 Saturdays for 25 years of partnership at about sort of 8:15, 8:30. Every time he asked, I'm not calling too early. I said, no, it's okay. And then we chatted for about an hour on, you know, all kinds of things. And not a structured agenda. He just wanted to get a feel for what had happened this week. Yeah.
No, I tend to agree. I remember some of those calls, and that's an incredible memory to have with some. But if we then, because now you are responsible for making sure this culture continues and its legacy. How do you make sure that you stay entrepreneurial and that people feel that there is an opportunity to do things, that you're expecting them to come up with new ideas? Because I find that hard sometimes, because in a modern world, there's more competition. It is closer calls on things. The financial situation is very often difficult, and many covers, like in Oriflame, we are in some of the countries with tough currencies, and very often, you know, there are constraints. It's not like we can do everything. How do you make sure that you continue to try new things?
I should say 3 different things, and then got into what I do. I think Medicover, we have the fortunate situation, like you as well, that, you know, although we're a public company, you know, the Yoctic family controls the vast majority of the company. So as long as the family is fully supportive of what we do, it's very unlikely the public stock market is going to, you know, largely disagree. So if we set the strategic agenda, the family and board is on board, you know, we can run with it. So I think that's an important thing to say. Secondly is that, you know, Robert, as you know, he's on our board. He's a major shareholder, and other members of the family actually on the board. So, you know, they're very involved. So if you say not only Jonas' person, but the sort of family heritage is very much represented on the board. And then on to what do I do? And it's a challenge, I find, and particularly when the business is getting much bigger. Now, what has worked well for us, is that most of the people that are really close to me have worked with us for a long time. And of course, and they experienced Jonas. We have worked together for 10, 15 years. Of course, it sort of is in our joint DNA. So you know, I don't have to tell them, you know, how do we do things around here. It's sort of just what we do. But of course, the bigger we get, the more new people comes in, also in senior positions that don't have that. And that, I think, is probably the biggest challenge we have in terms of where we're spreading ourselves out more globally and more distant from the sort of central. And I think the only way we can deal with that is the sort of kind of things you do here. You know, we have leadership bringing people together before the pandemic hit. Nowadays, we try and do quite a bit of these kind of events. And I think there's nothing else than communication and presence. But of course, presence has been very difficult. It's very difficult, And that's particularly true for us in India. You know, India is our latest addition geography-wise. And we do a lot of developments in India. We haven't been able to physically be there for more than a year. And that's a big challenge from this perspective.
Fredrik, we are rounding up here, but what is it that you miss the most about Jonas at this stage?
Probably those Saturday days calls. Because, you know, that was a combination of him being a visionary, legacy, family man, interested, everything packaged in one call. So you could trust him. You know, he would never change his mind. If he said something, he will always stand up for it. So, you know, you can say all of these things that Oriflame stands for and what Medicover stands for. that came through, of course, in different ways and different means. But every time, we had those conversations, I think that was a lasting memory. So that's a fantastic, thing to conclude with.
Fredrik, it's been great to have you here.
Well, thank you for coming.
I think we will round up with those thoughts, because I think it captures very much of what you were talking about. That leadership is very often about challenging, but also about caring.
Absolutely.
And that takes in behavior of actually being there and calling, even if it's a Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
3 out of 40. Thank you.
Thank
Fredrik.
you. Nice
really
to be
good.
here.
Let's put our hands together for Fredrik Rågmark. Very much thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a really heartwarming conversation. I have read all your comments. Thank you for appreciation. We are very fortunate that we actually have this cultural heritage. And we also wanted to produce this event today for you as a teaser, as a taste of what a leadership conversation can be in Oriflame. And that is why I'm so happy to tell you that this is not the end. This is not only the one-off. We today, together with this event, are launching a special website that is called Oriflame Way Managers Edition. And it is a training, a learning, the sharing from Magnus, our CEO, about the qualities of the Oriflame leader, but it goes much, much deeper, and it will give you hands-on tips on how actually to apply those qualities. And we hope that when the pandemic is over, and then when we come back, we then can run those sessions with Magnus and with all our other top leaders personally, with all the people managers in Oriflame, so that we can really get that ball rolling. And then so you see now the slide, hopefully in front of you, how the SharePoint looks like, and you can find it on the main page of Togetherness. And there is one more thing because we wrap up. You know that we had so many takeaways today, so many good things that we can apply in our everyday life. If you're a leader, but also if you're an aspiring leader wanting to make a career. And we really, really want you to remember all this. So that's why we are very cunning. We have the quiz prepared for you. And in this quiz, you can actually go through all the learnings that we had today. And the rules are, as always, the person who is the smartest, so will answer all the questions correct, but also who is the fastest and will answer it in the shortest time, will get the main prize. And you can take the quiz as many times as possible, and it's going to be open for 24 hours. And what's the prize? Well, at the moment, we have the President movement going in Oriflame among our brand partners. And all the people who close their president title in Oriflame, they get the individual coaching session with Magnus, our CEO, on leadership. So we decided, why don't we apply the same approach to our employees? So the person who will win the quiz will get the individual breakfast leadership session with Magnus Brännström. Guys, I don't think you want to miss this opportunity. So we do the quiz, and now it's time to wrap up. Over to you, Magnus.
So we're coming towards the end, and it's time for us to speak about the thoughts of today. And I think it is important that we remind ourselves that this is an event about culture, about the Oriflame Way. We have one team, one Oriflame. We are here to achieve some greatness for ourselves, for our brand partners, but also for our customers who uses our products and are part of the greater beauty community. And as we've talked about so many times, it always starts with us. Irrespective of where in the organization I am a leader of myself or of a small team or of a big team. And as a leader, I have certain responsibilities to convey the Oriflame culture. As we heard today, the most important way to convey the culture is by the way I behave. And as we've spoken about today, there are some clear fundamentals to start with, to make sure that they are there for my leadership to be successful. being the center of positive energy, being there for people, caring for people. As Fredrik said, calling people even on a Saturday morning, excusing oneself, but still asking the question, making people feel important and giving people hope about the future. Because people are looking for a vision of a brighter future. And that's the leader's incredibly important task to give. Surrounding oneself with people who compliments you are not just words. As you have heard today as well, there's a legacy. Oriflame puts a lot of effort making sure that we as a team needs to function together. And we are, no one of us, first of all, not myself. I'm not an expert in everything. You are not an expert in everything. So we need to cooperate. But by speaking to each other, by having teams that complement each other and being fire for the things I am responsible, then 1 + 1 becomes 3. Because by being a team, we have the strength of togetherness with the spirit and passion. And remember this with being one team. It is every time you write an email, what is the tone of that email? It is a complaining tone, or is it an encouraging tone? Is it a motivational tone? There is a huge difference in the way the attitude of the mail is being sent, in the result that you will be getting from that mail. And by putting the efforts of the positive energy and with the thought that the person on the other side is an expert, it is a professional, it is a great colleague who do great things. That's why this mail will be important and it will change the world. It will change it for you, but with a positive attitude, the outcome is great. And then last but not least, leadership is about taking decisions. And as we've concluded so many times, there are so many examples around the world, and we've heard several today. Everything from being the listener, everything being taking the decision that sometimes fails and then changing, being agile, etc. And even being angry for failing. That's all okay. But the point is that at the time of decision, that's when leadership comes through. Because we have to believe in something. We have to believe that this is the right way. Even if you don't have all the information, not all the numbers, not all the figures. You wish you had another day, another hour, another week, another month. And that's okay, the feeling is okay. But you still have to take a decision. And you have to live with that decision. That's why you have to take the decision from your gut. With the knowledge you have to say, I at this time believe most in this way. And once you've taken the decision, get everybody with you, because then great things can happen. But as soon as you see that your decision maybe wasn't the best one, you have to have the ability to recognize that. Listen to your people and make the necessary changes. Because the world is moving faster and faster, and we need agile managers who works in an agile, dynamic way with the motivation to drive one's people together with the spirit and passion. So thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this session, and there will be many more sessions going forward, because this is the most important topic, because there is just one thing we want to do. We want to win. We want to achieve the #1 social selling beauty company in the world, and we're going to do it together with the spirit and passion. And let's end this meeting in the way that Oriflame does. Oriflame, yes, #1.
Fight.
feel this moment. Miss Worldwide, Christina Aguilera. Oye, mamita, dale, que la cosa está arriba. Reporting live from the tallest building in Tokyo. Long way from them hallways, filled with O's and O's. They counting always, real fat all day. Now baby we can parlay, oh baby we can party. She read books, especially about red rooms and tie-ups. I got her hooked, cause she see me in a suit with a red tie tied up. Hey, it's nice to meet you, but